Welcome to Quantum Leap. I'm your host, Toyin Umesiri, author of Mindset of an Entrepreneur. Today, I want to teach you how to enter new markets and how to develop your market entry strategies. So, when you're ready to expand your business into new markets beyond the US, as example, one of the things you would need to put together is your export strategy and your market entry strategy. Because the rules of doing business here in the US is very much different than if you were to go to Mexico or Canada or other countries around the world. There are customers and clients that are potentially interested in buying your products and your services. So, how do you connect with them? How do you find those buyers? How do you position your product and your services in a competitive way in new markets? The first thing that I would encourage you to do is to first assess, are you going to be selling your product and services direct to customers, direct to consumers, or are you engaged in B2B, selling to businesses, or B2G, selling to government? Because governments of nations, they are big spenders and big buyers when it comes to infrastructure development, when it comes to agriculture, right? There are certain products and services that governments around the world continue to invest heavily in on behalf of their citizens. So there's also opportunity for you to engage in B2G. Once you decide on if it's direct to consumer, direct to customer, direct to a business, or to a government, you want to start laying out the types of relationships that is going to help you achieve success, right? So as example, if you're direct to consumer, then you need to start building relationships with the distribution, those who run the distribution channels in that nation, right? Those who import and those who distribute, they will be your best, right? They'll be your best buyers and clients. If your product and services is direct to businesses, then you want to start establishing relationships with the business community in that region in terms of their associations, right? You want to start getting connected depending on what sector, what industry you're trying to connect with. And also, if it's direct to government, one of the things you will actually want to start with is to start engaging with US government stakeholders in your city, in your state, because they do have relationships. And when you think about embassies and trade desks, Department of Commerce, there are a lot of relationships that the US government on behalf of its citizens can help you start seeing and exploring the lay of the land. So you probably want to start with your representative Department of Commerce here in the US. Now, also, you want to start digging out what I call trade information in terms of your industry. The industry you want to penetrate, whether it's agriculture, banking and finance, manufacturing. Now you need to start gathering information about that industry, the maturity level of the industry, the consumer spending, what are people buying, what's in demand, where's the money going, right? You really want to start getting a clear understanding of about consumer and client behavior within industry. The reason is because when you go from market to market, different industries have different maturity levels. So when you think about, when you think about agriculture as example, there are parts of the world that are not as advanced, sophisticated as the US market. So certain sophisticated machines or certain sophisticated solutions may not be the first place to start. So you really want to understand the maturity level and then understand the demand signals. What are people actually looking for, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to match supply to demand. You want to listen to demand signals. What do people need in those markets? What do farmers need? What are they asking for? Where is the government investing? Where are businesses investing heavily? And then you need to position yourself as a trusted trade partner. That is why building relationship is so important, because when demand meets supply, That's when transactions happen. So you want to make sure that you're introducing yourself, you're connecting with the right stakeholders, you're building the right relationships in order for you to be ready to do business in new countries. What you also need to start exploring is relationship with the banking side, trade financing institutions, particularly here in the US as example. So whether it's the UX Exim or your banking resources, you need to start preparing them and letting them understand that you're looking to expand your products and services to new markets. Also, you need to build your team. You need to assign the right people to start helping you dedicate time and energy towards doing this research and building these businesses as you continue to grow your domestic business side. You also want to start growing expertise, whether it's internal to your company or also external consultant that's going to hold your hand. The reason this is so important is because nothing happens overnight, right? So you actually have to give yourself room to grow, to understand the market, to position your brand, to build the right relationships, to gather the right information in order to be able to put your strategy together. Now, as you build those relationships and you get the right level of information, now you need your game plan. One thing I want to encourage you to do is not just think in terms of the short-term strategy, in terms of I want to sell, I'm looking for distributors, I'm looking for sales agents. That's good. But also consider 5 years from now, what would your representation in that market look like? Because when you can project into the future and say, okay, in 5 years' time, this is how we want to do business in this country, then what you want to do is lay the right foundation today to support that long-term strategy. Okay? So if you see yourself as just exporting, right, then definitely you need people who already understand how to distribute or how to build those relationships, right? You need them on your side. But as you start thinking about the possibility of growing beyond just export, you might start thinking about establishing offices or establishing manufacturing base, depending on the volume of demand you start seeing. Because when you start seeing and comparing to produce in that market versus the shipping logistics cost over a period of time, you start looking at the cost benefits, right? So certain times it's better to just ship. Other times in the long term, you might realize that maybe you may want to open a larger presence in that market. So those are a couple of things I want you to start exploring right now as you continue to consider taking your business to the next level beyond just the US market. Thank you so much for joining me today on Quantum Leap. I look forward to bringing you more insights for myself as well as my special guests that I'll be bringing to you in the future. If you have any questions, do check out my website, toyinumesiri.com, and I invite you to reach out. And also, if you would like to be featured on this show, I invite you to reach out and connect with us as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again next week.